What's up guys, Boy here. Today we're doing another video. Today we're taking a look at the Avon M53, or FM53. Let's begin. So, as you could probably know, if you actually seen my review of the M50, you could probably know this was in fact another variant of the M50 series, the M53, or the FM53. You could probably know that this was kind of a bit of a different variant to it. Now, the M53 is kind of mostly for military personal usage. This one is more particular, was another introduction. It was actually introduced in 2007, and it was approved by NOSH in 2009. And it actually been used for like specific military personnel use and special forces, and of course law enforcement around the world. So it's kind of becoming into very much of a better mask than something like akin to the M45 series, or the M45 to be exact. Now, for the bag itself, the ones I've got was like the standard normal M50 bag, and I already did a covered on that in my M50 review, so that's gonna be, if you want to watch for the bag itself, go for the M50 series review. I actually talked about that, but it's kind of the same thing because it's kind of stored like the same it is. Of course, the canteen is also kind of a different, also have a specific cap for things like the M50 series, similar to like the M53, so it's kind of, again, that's for like in my canteen review and the M50 review. But it is kind of also been adapted with the Type A type canteen, so that's kind of what it looks like with the canteen on. So yes, the mask itself. Oh yeah, another thing about it here is the VPU. The VPU is actually supposed to be applied like this, like that. And this is where you put the connection port on here. And another thing about it here, you can actually get more connection ports for things like a communications headsets and stuff like that. So radio communications. And this is actually kind of pretty cool, is you can actually pull it like that, and it's actually to having more amplified voice. Oops. It actually, when I actually looked at the videos of it, you can raise it and lower it. So that's kind of very interesting about it. And of course, there's also the water bag. So I did mention that in my M50 review. So yeah, I know, I'm just saying I've done that in my M50 review. Okay. Of course, there's also the chemical hood, which is also have like the secondary skin, which is probably made out of butyl rubber. But the reason why it's the difference between this and the M50 is, of course, this right here. You can actually know that this is actually specific for the M50. Things like the M right here, that's a medium. And this is also this little tab right here. That's actually is meant for the top piece on the M50. Yeah, the face piece itself have like this piece right here. It actually is to attach the chemical hood for the mask itself. So this whole rubber is like all around it. The hood itself also secured with 2 buckles on it. So it's kind of just let's make it have less with zippers and string cords and all that. So yes, that's kind of what it looks like. Secured with 2 buckles on there, and to adjust the straps and tighten it. The lenses itself, again, I did point it out in my M50 review, where I could probably know that yes, this is also the second variant. Also, this is another variant I have for it, which is the laser tinted lenses. And you can actually make it easier to switch like lenses around, so that's a pretty big plus side to it. Now, the filter itself, this one is kind of a really specifically for the mask itself. So yes, this is also said like for use of Avon products only, more particular the M53. So the filter itself has, of course, this is probably for, that's for France. This is probably for Spanish. And this is for English. So for use on Avon products only, filter may not seal with other products, leading to serious injury or death. Not NOSH approved. Here's the lot number. Oops. Avon 1717 or no 1711717 MSN 2440 01 -01 -529 -8322. That's kind of what it is. Here's the plastic cap and secured. Yeah, that's kind of really weird. So the mask itself is made out of kind of had the same material as the M53. Let me say the material of itself. Okay, the facepiece itself is made of polyurethane and silicone mixed in together. So you actually don't need to have the secondary skin. And this is kind of the same material as the M50, so hear me out on this one. The lens, the eyepiece, is made of polyurethane, which is also another flexible thing that's used from the M50 series. The thread is a 40mm Stanag with plastic all over it. I actually forgot to mention during my M50 review where had like this Yuki barcode and having like a bunch of like numbers and AVO 1433MO2 and look at all that. 143340202R003. That's kind of what it is. On the other hand, yes, these are one of those masks that doesn't really have an option for having like a secondary port or anything. They had a different version that had secondary port to it. Even the M54 don't have this, but instead have a secondary port. Yeah, you actually have to have, if you're a second hand, you gotta have to find a variant with something with the, rather by the size and also by left-handed if you're really left-handed. This one in particular is more of a configuration of like, a medium and also right-handed usage. Okay, here is the voice diaphragm and of course the exhale valve. But here's this here. This is actually more to actually convert this to an APR and SCBA. This is more of positive and there is negative. Now this actually can turn into a normal gas mask to more of an SCBA and APR usage. Here's the whole entire threads that you can actually put your VPU on here. But there is one thing about it here that's actually missing. Yeah, there's actually a VREU lever piece that actually is supposed to be on the M53, which that's actually for the entirety. If you have the VPU on, you can use it without having to remove the whole thing itself. Here is the drinking port and the drinking straw. Kind of had the same share like the M50. Kind of also, again, you can use this on a Camelback and with its adapter, with the Type A adapter. Here's the entire hose. Here's the lever for the drinking straw that's inside the mask. And here's the connection port to it. Here is the size of it. Here, I know there's a date inside on this thing. I don't think I see it. I know it's here somewhere. I can't find it. That's really weird. Okay, now let's go talk about the back of the mask. this is a 6-point head harness. Now, just like the M50, this is how to tighten it, and this is how you loosen it. It's have a mesh netting with some piece of fabric all over, rather on top of it, and of course on the sides of it. But that's these functions actually more for both the bottom and the middle. But on the top is kind of similar to like the M50 again. It's actually more usage of Velcro is to remove this and then to tighten and to loosen, and then you apply it back on here. Now let's talk about the back itself. So here's what's inside the mask itself, which you could probably see. Now here's also the oral nasal cup. Here's the connector port for the VPU lever. And here's the left hand usage, or right hand. Yes, if you actually probably know, it has this really weird cone, like honeycomb thing, or squared like a waffle. And on the other hand, here's in fact the connection to it. It actually is divided, is more of that weird divider. Kind of have that really more harder rubber or harder. And of course, it's also the flap piece inside of here. That'll just blow here. And of course, with the big old piece of plastic on here too. Now, another thing about this, here's in fact the flapper piece and the diaphragm. So here's the lever for to switch there. I'm not sure if you can see it inside, but it will go inside of the thing just to tighten it and to loosen it. It's by that function itself. But for the drinking straw, this is what it will be like. Yep, that's what it will be like. Yep. So this is how it functions of the M53. So it will travel through here when it inhales. It will go in here. It will travel to the hole that's in here. And then when it exhales, it will blow like that. So let's test this bad boy out. So this is what it sounds like with the mask on. Uh-oh. That's the kind of. Oh, foolish me. So this is what it sounds like with the VPU on.
So this is what it sounds like with the mask on.
So the mask itself is probably the best one out of the bunch. Now, after I made that M40 review, it was kind of on the level of just go get it M53. Funny part about it, I got that before I got the M45, so it's kind of pretty funny about that. The mask itself is probably one of the better ones, but there are some quite flaws about it here, just like every mask you can get. One thing about it here is a lack of a second port. Now, they did have a second port variant, which that's kind of a thing for it. So if you have something like this, you actually definitely need for something finding specifically for, rather if you're left-handed, you actually have to find one that's like left-handed. This configuration is more for right-handed usage. So it's kind of similar to that. And a lot of the more common ones you'll find is things like this one does not have a VREU lever, which I don't have that one. But on the other hand about it here, it's kind of like, that's kind of like a useful tool to use. So you won't have to like remove something like the VPU itself, which the VPU is also pretty good. But there are some flaws with things like the chemical hood, where you actually have to somehow, for some weird reason, and yes, this actually had to be aligned with the tab on top of it. You actually have to really take a lot of time to actually take it easier, or rather actually assemble it like that. It's kind of pretty weird about it, but yeah, it's kind of like you could just get a normal chemical hood and use it like that instead, or using the JSLST, chemical suit itself. The mask itself is not bad. It's actually a pretty good one out of it. And that's kind of the minor complaints I have, but overall it's a pretty good mask of all things. So I'm giving the Avon FM53 an astounding of, you guessed it, of a 9 out of 10. It's kind of going on par with the M40 series, which I actually like that mask a lot. So it's actually a pretty good one to have, if about it here. So do I recommend it? Probably so. Probably is a little expensive to get these days for. And thankfully I did got this whole kit for around about $300, $350 to be exact. Even including things like the green tinted laser lenses. So you could probably all know, yes, I would recommend it. So that wraps up of the Avon FM53. I'm Artilboy, and I'm signing out. I'll see you guys next time.